Why buy your next vehicle from Community Motors of Mason City?
Great service from 3 locations. Community on Monroe, Community Motors Westside, and Mason City Ford. 10 new franchises and hundreds of vehicles to give you more choices. Plus, Community offers an exclusive 3-3 warranty on pre-owned vehicles and 10-year, 250,000-mile warranty on new. Need more reasons why? Stop or visit CommunityAutoGroup.com.
Because nobody beats a community deal. Nobody.
It's Tuesday, July 24th, 9:45. This time we're back to the Clearwater County Board of Supervisors weekly meeting. Item number 1 and item number 2 on the agenda is the agenda, and the minutes from the July 17th regular meeting and the July 17th and 18th special session.
Mr. Chairman, at this time I'd make a motion to approve today's agenda. The minutes of the 3 meetings you mentioned, 17th regular special and 18th special.
Okay, and I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion second to approve the agenda and the minutes from last week's 3 meetings. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 3, old business. Hearing none, I'll move on to new business. Item 8, county engineer. Mary, how are you this morning?
I'm fine, thank you. S14, Heartland's out there resurfacing, so hopefully that project will be wrapping up in about a week and a half. We'll have that road back open. I notified you guys probably middle of last week that we did close the bridge. It's located on Mallard, south of B60. The abutments are in rather rough shape. The concrete at the water line has spalled and is essentially gone, so it's lost some of its load capacity because there's no concrete there to support it. I've kind of been working with my foreman to see if we can do a repair in-house. I think the guys have the capability, it's just we don't have the equipment to do it because you would need some temporary shoring. So if we could get that worked out, we may do just a repair and then open it up. If we can't, my biggest concern would be, if you don't have it shored up properly, you're putting the men at risk. So I don't want to do that. So if we can't figure that out, we have to look at either a replacement or a closure until the funding is available. I know there's one property owner that lives, he doesn't live on the road the bridge is on, but he lives south of the road. He must take that to get to B60 instead of going over to Lark. And I'm not 100% sure. I haven't spoke with him, but he's been in our office and said he would probably be in touch with you guys. Otherwise, if we can't get the repair, I'll probably be in more discussion with you if you guys want to replace that or either close it, make that road a level B.
Can we do a limited weight on it and open it or not?
In the condition it is in, WHKS recommended closure, and I went with that recommendation, especially after seeing it.
Well, I was there yesterday, and if it don't rain anymore, we can put a 10-inch culvert in there and it'll be fine.
Maybe a 30. Yeah, no, yeah. But I guess
we couldn't put a box culvert.
Probably a triple culvert might work. I kind of looked at some of the hydraulics on that. A triple would probably work, and you're looking at possibly, if we did it in-house, 120 for the box itself, and then we would hire a crane to help us set it, and then use our own crew to set it.
But even if you do that, you still consider B level?
No.
Right now it's not a B level.
No, but I'm saying you would consider B leveling in the future.
My reason for that was if you closed the bridge and removed the bridge, I'd recommend a B level because we couldn't run our maintainer continuously through,
Right.
and then you're causing more issues because you have to go up and then turn around, and then you got to go around for a quarter mile or half a mile So we could leave it as is with the repair or the replacement, because we have some continuity there. But otherwise, if we were to close it and not replace, I would recommend possibly doing a B level for snow maintenance activities.
Bob was thinking maybe you could be-level his also.
Yeah.
He
Well,
didn't have that much.
if he brings a petition with his neighbor's signatures, we can look at that.
I talked to one of the neighbors who lives south of the bridge, and he
Okay.
understands what we're doing, and he says, quite honestly, he says, you can't hardly get through there with any equipment. And he
That's
says,
just
I've had
it.
to go around, he says, if you could.
It's pretty tight, isn't it?
He's, yeah, he says, if you
16
could put
foot.
if you could put a box culvert or something in there so we can get through there, it'd be wonderful, but he says, yeah, it really isn't that efficient the way it is right now, so. He says, I don't use it hardly ever at all.
Is it a concrete one?
It's,
This is,
it's one of those ugly fracture critical steel truss bridges. There's 2 steel trusses on
Oh,
each
the old-
side that come up above the deck.
Yes.
And then, they sit on a concrete abutment that stands over the creek, so.
It's an old one.
It is like 1915.
Yeah.
Yes, it's served its useful purpose, but it's narrow. The repair would allow for vehicular traffic, but like you said, you can't really get much
Yeah.
equipment to it, so.
I'd like to see some kind of maybe a box culvert in there.
Okay, well, I'll look
Or
at.
maybe just closing it for a couple of years to see what we can find some funding for it.
Okay. All right. I will, and if you want, I can look at the cost a little bit more in depth, because I was just roughly basing it off of a drainage area and throwing some numbers in there, so I can look at that a little closer and get that to you, and you guys can make a decision if you want, based off that. But I think it sounds like skipping the repair because the structure there is, well, it's 1913 structure, it's a fracture critical structure, which are not very desirable. And then, and also for the lack of means of being able to complete that. The other issue, I didn't know if you guys gave any thought to replacing that Gaffney.
I think we need to
Mentioned it.
replace it, but I don't.
Mentioned it
you know,
last week, and I guess I'm not gonna move forward with it until I get the okay from you guys.
Are you moving forward right then on the mechanical, aren't you?
Yes, yes. We have that posted.
Well, I personally think we need to keep that up. You did do a nice, tell Todd, the foreman, and his people, they did a nice job of repairing that road out by me.
Okay.
I thought it looked real nice when we ended.
Okay. I guess another issue that, Jay had talked to me last week about, a property owner who was baling hay, and I went out and took a look at that. And then in the meantime, I had a request from another property owner, who wants to bale hay in the ditch, and it, and I printed this stuff off for you guys as information. It looks like the governor issued a proclamation or encouraging farmers to talk to their counties about baling, mowing and baling for animal feeding. Let's see here. There was Brad Revlin that had contacted the DOT about baling, and they referred him to us. He says he has some pasture that he rents, and with dry weather, he's running out of feed to feed his cattle. So he was wondering about baling the ditches. And I said I would need to talk to you guys about that, and we can have more discussion about this. You don't have to make a decision today. But this came across my desk yesterday. So what I gave you is the email with his request, and I think I gave you The DOT allows it, but they have a lot of restrictions. They only allow it once a year after July 15. And then they have daytime, you have to do it during the daytime hours. Several different criteria in which they will allow it, and they also require that you get a permit. So I guess if there's an interest here, we can sit down and discuss it further, and I can get a permit application together. If there's not an interest, I can let it be.
Well, my concern is the lack of structure, the way things presently are, and people going in before the 15th of July and beginning that process, which is what I've witnessed.
Yes.
And I think it's important to have something in place if someone wants it, that they at least notify us and follow a procedure that
I
at least
agree.
conforms to the state minimums.
I agree too, because people will mow the ditch, they crush the culvert ends, and we can't really say, well, we know you were out there. We try to recoup some of those costs, because then we may have to go out there and cut the end of the culvert off and extend it with a new piece because they've crushed it. And we have our survey markers out there that we don't want disrupted, and just other things that do exist in the right of way that we don't want disturbed or damaged. And then they need to be careful because of some of those forest slopes are steep.
Very.
And just for their safety, they need to be careful. And I believe that the county, if we're gonna allow it, we need to protect ourselves in case there is an accident or something in which they try to mow something that's too steep. So, I guess if you want me to proceed with a permit, I can do that and then, email it to you guys for your review.
Is there some counties doing it now? There's probably.
Oh, I suppose there probably is some.
You know, it'd be nice to see what they're doing.
Okay, I can check into that
And
too.
Here's, neither here nor now, but there's these progress reports all the time, and this happens to do with specifically Minnesota. Like the corn is tassels, this is emerged, the beans are potting. Well, in Minnesota, they've got a little slot where mowing of ditches, that's on their survey, the state of Minnesota, so that must be something set. They got all these little criteria like da-da-da-da-da, and mowing of ditches complete, or, I don't know, Minnesota, they do something different, but I mean, is that a state thing, or does it follow down through the county? And then I know they're kind of all over that.
I don't know
township.
how Minnesota does it.
But
I
there's
know
something
if
about
you,
mowing the ditches.
yeah, if you
baling
look
things.
at the DOT permit, they have mowing only, harvest hay, harvest plant material other than hay. So they've got a variety of things. I guess my interest would just be like maybe a mowing and a baling.
Right.
Not too many people really go and plant.
Oh, no. And there isn't a lot of livestock per se, it was 30, 40 years ago.
Well, and I wouldn't recommend putting livestock in the ditches. That's just
Oh, no,
another
absolutely.
obstruction that people could hit. So I'll work on an application and check into what other counties are doing and let you know.
Okay.
Okay. And then the other thing on the agenda for your consideration is Rockwell at one time had an underground storage tank, and they used it for fuel. And then probably like 70s or 80s, they passed regulations for underground storage tanks. And then, so since the late 80s, we've been having the groundwater tested for contaminants at the Rockwell shop. I believe in 2004, when Jim was still here, he over-excavated and removed a lot of the contaminated soil and got us reclassified at a lower tier.
Right.
And then we had some sample wells that are still there, in which Seneca comes every year and they monitor the groundwater and test it for contaminants. I couldn't really tell you which contaminants they check for, but they prepare a very lengthy report every year for submittal to the DNR. They called a couple weeks ago and asked if we would be interested in trying to get a reclassification, and it's called an environmental covenant. And essentially this reclassification could possibly eliminate that need for testing. And she felt pretty confident that we qualified for it. And the one setback would be if you qualify and get this environmental covenant put on the property, then it's recorded through the recorder's office that you can't put any well on the property in the future for drinking or groundwater, like non-drinking or drinking. You can't install a well. Well, that could be detrimental to some properties. The Rockwell shed, I don't foresee us going anywhere anytime in the near future, and if we do, Rockwell, that shop is on city water. So I guess I don't see the need for there ever being a well on the property. I gave you the packet and a lot of the verbiage that she had. It would require that we sign off on the environmental covenant. Then it, like I said, it gets recorded, and then it's perpetual. It runs with the land. So if you ever sell it, you know, it could be, like I said, it could be a black eye for some properties, but I don't see us selling that anytime soon. And it is something that would last forever. And if you did want to remove the environmental covenant, then you're opening yourself back up to that testing requirement again. So I guess, are you guys interested in doing this? And if so, then Seneca can proceed in that aspect and look at the document paperwork prepared to request that from the DNR. Then the DNR does also, when one of these is requested, they go back 5 years and they review all the reports that were submitted the last 5 years.
What's it gonna cost us to get that done?
It will have some additional cost to it. She thought it would be kind of minimal, but currently we're paying $1,400 a year to have it tested and monitored. So if we could eliminate that, then we'd be saving that money. So
I think we should do it. Save
all right.
money.
I will advise her to move forward with that, and we'll see if we get it reclassified. And then that would be one less thing we have
Probably
to
should
worry
get
about.
that in the motion, shouldn't we?
I put it on the agenda because it will require that you guys sign a document. If it's approved, it'll require you to sign the document that gets recorded at the recorder's office. So I did put it on the agenda for a motion.
And also move to that effect, requesting an environmental covenant reclassification of the Rockwell shed.
I'll second.
DNR.
Okay, we got motion second to request an environmental covenant reclassification of the Rockwell shed from the DNR. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Anything else, Mary?
No, that's all I have.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item B, county auditor's business.
All right, we've got the claims ending this week, so the top four on the signatures today.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, we make a motion to approve the claims and authorize your signature where appropriate.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and second to okay the claims and authorize the chair to sign where appropriate. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Payroll.
For your consideration is the payroll warrant register for the week ending 7/14.
Okay, I'll move to accept and authorize the chair's signature on the payroll warrant report. That's
Okay.
of the 17th of July.
I'll second the acceptance of the warrant.
We got a motion second to accept the warrant report for July 14th. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, opposed? Motion carried.
Also got two payroll requests here. I've got one for Don O'Toole, moving from second mechanic to general maintenance position at a change to an hourly wage of $17.87. And Frank Kodak is replacing Matt Thunder, who was promoted to lieutenant, and he's being changed to $23.30 per hour. So we need a motion to approve those, please.
Is that a motion or a resolution?
That's a motion.
Okay.
I make a motion. All right.
Okay, we got a motion
Yeah, I'll second.
and second to change the hourly on these two people, Donald O'Toole and Frank Kodak. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Drainage.
We have no drainage issues today.
Okay, item number 4, designate boardroom as the polling place for the Mason City Ward 2 Precinct 1.
I think Ken Klein has talked with each one of you about this. So just a review is that currently the polling place for Ward 2 Precinct 1 is what we call the county election annex, the building right across the alley, the Bill building. That has served well for some of the smaller elections, but anticipating a larger turnout for the general election, there was a need to find a new location with a little more space, a little more room. And the proposal is to seek approval from the Board of Supervisors to use the boardroom permanently from this point on as the polling place for Ward 2 Precinct 1.
I think it's the only practical solution in a precinct that has really no other suitable buildings or facilities to use other than the two the county owns. So I would support that, and I'd make a motion to approve that.
Okay.
And I'll also second that.
Okay, we got a motion second to designate the boardroom as the polling place for Mason City Ward 2 Precinct 1. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Anything else with the auditor? Okay. Moving on to item C, Iowa Department of Economic Development. Authorize the chair to sign a letter to IDED requesting an amendment to contract 08-DRB-208 to extend end date from August 30th, 2012 to September 30th, 2012.
Yeah, Joe Myrie brought this in and needed an additional month to meet the new program demands. They were recently enhanced under the flood insurance program.
Okay.
He feels additional 1 month will take care of the program.
I'd make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve and authorize your signature.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion second to approve the Iowa Department of Economic Development's letter requesting that extra month. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number D, driveway request.
Okay, there's been a request in the extreme eastern part of our county, and the back lot of this property is, turns into Floyd County, but the front faces S70, which is near North Springs, and they're requesting Allied Ready Mix driveway variance request. And I went Friday afternoon over there and hit a pretty good time. There was 2 gentlemen on site, because a lot of times they ebb and flow, they only be there when they're running. And then the gentleman, Mr. Kingery, that wrote the request, I had a lengthy conversation on the phone with him. And so I looked at it, and it seemed to be all right. Their rationale was their cement trucks are fine, but their combination trucks, when they bring in the ballast and sand, they're combination, you know, like a semi, if you will. And they have to back off S70, which, you know, is a blacktop. And that was their criteria for just kind of safety.
I think,
And yes, you
I
can.
think they're requesting driveways closer than 400 foot, correct?
Yes, correct. I had a suggestion, they had some flags there, and I just, layman at best, there was a power pole with a very large transformer on it, and suggested that it, and they said they'd have no problem with that, and it looks like you guys will probably they'll have to abide by all your recommendations. I mean, the slope of the land will be, it generally goes to the south, so moving the driveway wouldn't compromise that. But I suggested this power pole thing, stay away from it. But anyway, yeah, and they'll do whatever it takes from your recommendations, so. But at this time, I so move to accept and recommend the driveway variance for Allied Ready Mix.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion second to approve the request from Allied Ready Mix for a driveway. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Item number E, manure management plan. Consider reports. This is one from Kevin Smith with his site of S70. It's a renewal, it's a regular one. At this time, I'll make a motion that we accept the report and send a copy to you.
Oh. Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item F, agreements and contracts. None?
Here.
Appointments? None? Correspondence and communications. I would like to say this morning that I was at a juvenile detention meeting last Friday. I had their audit report from the state of Iowa. So we have a copy here if anybody wants to look at it. They're finally getting things turned around a little bit, and if you figure out what's owed them and stuff, they actually turned into black this year. So they're doing much better, thanks to Bob Lincoln and some of the services he's done. So if there's nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. And I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, people.